There are two stories I want to get to real quick. One is Secretary of Department of Veteran Affairs Doug Collins reveals to Fox News and all over the world who the forgotten victims are from the recent LA riots. Secondly, I want to highlight a young lady from Chicago. Her name is Danielle Carter Walters. She is part of the Flip Chicago Red movement, which means that Chicago is a strong, deep blue city, and the recent events with Democrats since November 2024, since the Democrats lost the election, they've lost their minds and they lost their moral compass, and more blacks, Hispanics, whites, anybody with a sane mind leaving the Democratic Party. And Miss Carter Walters from Chicago is part of an effort to turn Chicago first purple, then red eventually. So more coming up after the intro.
So anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles forcing a Veteran Affairs clinic to shut down and cancel over 1,800 appointments for veterans. Now Secretary of Veteran Affairs Doug Collins is demanding answers from California leaders like Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, who he says allow rioters to run wild in the city. And he joins us now. I mean, this is ridiculous. Some of the services that clinic that you run provide: cancer care, suicide prevention, pain management, amputation care, traumatic brain injury, that's TBIs. The suicide services is the main thing that just has me outraged.
It is, and this is what's bad, Lawrence. They just let it build, and then they ran, muck in our clinic out there, which is an ambulatory clinic, which is really important because the ambulatory clinic is where people can walk into. They have appointments, but it's accessible, especially to those down in downtown who need that care. And to have this ability not to give them that care, we've transferred as much as we can to telehealth. We've transferred as much as we can, but there's nothing that displaces being able to actually take care of them in that. So look, I'm tired of this idea that we're trying to help our veterans, help Americans, but yet we're letting the folks in LA run wild and graffiti our buildings and do the things that stop us from actually taking care of our veterans.
So what happens to those veterans that are there? Like, what do they hop on a bus and go somewhere? We know some of them don't have the means to do so. I mean, why do they get impacted and not the city step in and make it right?
Well, see, this is what happens when you get into these discussions all the time, Lawrence. We talk about it's the riders and the peaceful riders, which we know they're not peaceful. We see what they're doing. They're throwing stuff at ICE. So they're taking it out on the police. But yet what we don't always talk about, and what Gavin Newsom and undoubtedly the mayor doesn't want to talk about, is the impact to the people who are just trying to live their lives. And look, we veterans in our town, especially LA, we have a large homelessness population of veterans, unfortunately, there, which we're working on fixing, that the president is taking an initiative on. But we've got a lot who just need that basic care. And this ambulatory clinic, also our benefits office is closed as well. So people are having trouble getting, if they needed to come in for the benefits, they can't do that either. Our workers are displaced. Nobody talks about that. So I would love to see in all of his discussions, the governor out there and the mayor, why don't they actually talk about the real issue is, and that's why we can't get the services to the people that need it.
So as promised, you just heard the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Doug Collins, say that because of the recent LA riots, 600 United States veterans missed. Out of the entire 600, they missed a total of 1,800 appointments, some of which were suicide prevention, benefits, and other health care services that the Department of Veteran Affairs provides in that region. And what I would like to hear Karen Bass, who is the LA mayor, what I would like to hear the California governor, Gavin Newsom, address is the fact that we're in this situation where we can't take care of our veterans because the governor can't take care of his citizens. The LA mayor can't take care of her citizens. So, as promised, you heard Doug Collins reveal who are the real victims of these recent riots in LA. Now, I would like to add to that, though, because it's not just veterans, it's also senior citizens, okay? It's also infants, it's pregnant mothers, it's little kids that have severe illness. What were they doing while the rioters, the looters, were throwing bricks at cop cars, were breaking windows of businesses, were looting cell phones from local business owners? Local business owners, although it is talked about a little bit, they are also victims of these unsubstantiated riots that are taking place. So that's that story. Okay, you finally know the answer on who are the hidden victims, which leads me to my next story. Danielle Carter Walters from Chicago, who is part of the Flip Chicago Red movement. And so, without any further ado, let's get into our next story.
Let's start with cutting off illegals, getting free everything. Free housing, free schooling, free food. The police detail you had, the 200 police detail you had, let's start with that. Because you Democrats, and you remember you told us to defund the police? Remember, you ran on that. Remember, y'all know for real. And now, if you all vote on anything to raise all taxes or anything, because we already suffering homeowners, you all will not be in those seats.
Okay, first you heard from New York City Mayor Adams in a major shift. He says deport criminal illegal aliens now. And also that was Chicago resident Danielle Carter Walters describing how dangerous the situation is now in Chicago. Danielle joins us now. Danielle, we appreciate you so much for joining us on the show. Merry Christmas to you. I know it's so hard for you guys in Chicago. Can you please tell the viewer about what exactly is happening on the streets in Chicago now when it comes to illegal aliens?
Well, we have about 70,000 illegal aliens here in Chicago. They're just having entire restaurants all on the corner of residential areas. We're having crime. We're having more shoplifting going on here. And we also having where the gangs are taken over. So it's really bad here in Chicago, especially when you dump 70,000 illegal aliens in our neighborhoods.
You know, Danielle, so on Monday, a mass shooting in Chicago, reportedly involving, migrants from Venezuela, 8 shot, 3 dead. And now,
yes.
Chicago, is this right that Chicago spent nearly $600 million in illegal aliens since 2022, but the Democrat mayor and the city council, they want to raise your property taxes to pay for it when you guys are getting nothing in return? We're showing the amount nationwide. It was $574 million, now we're hearing from Chicago, spent on this. Nationwide, $150 billion plus spent nationwide on illegal aliens. Is that true? Is those the numbers you guys are hearing about too?
Yes. Yes, we are in a $1 billion deficit. We have spent, and I believe it's more, $600 million on illegals, funding them free housing, free medical, free schooling, free food, everything free, all while trying to tax the taxpayers. So we are in a $1 billion deficit. We want Brandon Johnson to allow Trump to come in and do his job. That's what we voted for, and that's what we want as American citizens and as Chicago citizens. I did not vote for this mayor, nor have I voted Democrat since 2016. But since this is what we have to deal with, he's a dictator. He refused to listen to the citizens, and we're telling him right now, if you do not listen to us and let Tom Homan come in and get these illegals out of our neighborhood, that it's going to be a problem.
You know, Danielle, we got news coming in. Mexico troops just seized a record amount of fentanyl, an historic amount that was heading toward the border. Let's take a listen to New York City Mayor Eric Adams on what the money that's going toward illegal aliens, what it's not being spent on for taxpayers. Danielle, let's get your reaction to this. Watch.
Okay.
The long-term impact of that $6.4 billion has not materialized yet. We could have spent $400 million on community schools to handle chronic absentees. We could have spent $600 million on 2,000 guiding counselors and social workers in schools, $39 million on summer rise and extended hours for 30,000 children, $22 million on MetroCards for 75,000 summer youth employment participants. $200 million could have gone to 1,000 more police officers. $84 million could have gone to 730 park staffs. The police budget is less than what we spent. The entire NYPD is only $6.2 billion. Fire department only $2.6 billion. They hurt the future of New York City.
A word on that.
Well, first, I think he's too late. He's definitely too late. He should have did this when it first happened, just like Brandon Johnson should have did this when it first happened. We fought him because we wanted to get put on the ballot so we can vote on if we wanted Chicago to stay a sanctuary city. Brandon Johnson blocked that. So these Democratic mayors, Eric Adams now want to act like he want to do something, but he should have did something 2 years ago when they started coming.
That's an important point.
So basically, I blame him for what's going on, just like we blame Jay Pritzker and we blame Brandon Johnson, because these Democratic mayors and governors allowed this. And they knew that we didn't have the funding to fund this, but they didn't care because they knew it was going to be on the taxpayer back. So now that we're in this deficit and the New York mayor is going through what he's going through, now he wants to act like he's trying to do something. But the good thing is he's acting like he wants to do something. Our mayor, Brandon Johnson, is doubling down on what he's saying.
Got it. Danielle Carter Walters, thank you so much very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. We'll be staying on the story. It's good to see you.
I don't want anybody who crossed over here illegally unvetted. I don't want them in my communities. The Democratic Party is so far from reality. They go in their gated communities. I don't see any of those people that's advocating to keep these people here. I don't see them in their house and their communities.
Well, that is our next guest, calling out sanctuary and immigration policies during testimony before Congress yesterday. So let's bring her in. Danielle Carter Walters. She is the vice president of Chicago Flips Red. And yes, that is what it means. Danielle, thanks for joining us here in studio. And you were fired up. You came with a message, not just for Congress, specifically, I think, for Democrats who sort of stand in the way of this administration trying to carry out its immigration policies. What were you so passionate about? What was the message you really wanted lawmakers to hear yesterday?
Yes, for far so long, we have allowed people who their reality is so far from our reality to tell our story. And our voice has been silenced. So I wanted to tell the story of what's really happening in my community, in our community, in most of the sanctuary cities. I wanted to be able to tell that story because and show how the Democratic Party policies are destroying and killing our community. And so long we allow Jasmine Crockett and we allow Al Sharpton to tell these false narratives about what's going on. And they don't even live in our communities. They stay in those gated communities and they don't have to deal with what we have to deal with on the ground level. And so I was so passionate about that because Brandon Johnson, they always try to silence our voice. When we come down there, they do a lot of things.
Why do they try to silence you?
Because the truth is coming out. we are showing about how devastating the migrant or illegal alien crisis have been in our community, because they come in and they bring, I believe it's 70,000, they say 51,000, but they bring them here unvetted. And let me say this, because sometimes it seems like people will say you hate the immigrant community. No, I don't. Only thing I say is when you do things, you have to do things in decent and in order. It's a way you have to do things. We as American citizens, if we break the law, guess what? They're going to take us to jail. And if I have my kid with me, guess what's going to happen? My kid is going to go to DCFS or wherever they go to. They're going to separate me and my kid. I'm going to go to jail, and my kid is going to go to foster home.
Right. We know you love that city. Born and bred. I know you have a ton of family there, so this is very important to you. And we know that you're going to be an outspoken voice on behalf of your city. Thanks for visiting Washington and letting those lawmakers know the reality.
Yes. Can I say this?
Sure.
We demand a forensic audit of how our taxpayer dollars was spent on that migrant crisis.
Well, maybe Elon Musk is listening.
Thank you.
We'll give you one. All right, Danielle, thanks for joining.
So now you just saw Danielle Carter Walters on full display on Fox News. She is dynamite. And I'm not talking about her looks either. I'm talking about the way, the grit, speaking from a chest, like she freaking means what she's saying. And she's not the only one. There are hundreds of people like her operating in the city of Chicago that are against Mayor Brandon's sanctuary city status, sanctuary city mindset that obviously he needs to fund with legal citizen taxpayer money who own homes. And, other forms of tax revenue as well. You don't have to own a home to pay into the Chicago or any city's tax system. And so far we talked about LA with the riots, the abandoned victims, right? Which we discussed, veterans, 600 veterans that couldn't get to their appointments because of the riots in the streets. I also added the elderly, the infants, those in the LA community that cannot care for themselves, that needed care, couldn't get it in that area, probably had to travel to another area to get it. Those are the forgotten victims of the LA riots. Now, I don't know if you noticed or not, but Chicago is also current day having rioter protests in the streets of Chicago too. So the same thing goes for them. I mean, Chicagoans, they have veteran communities. They have elderly, senior citizens. They have infants, just like LA County does, right? And so the same forgotten victims that goes for LA goes for Chicago. But bringing it a step forward to what she was saying was that just due to Chicago's sanctuary city status, Mayor Brandon Johnson was looking to raise taxes on homeowners to pay for the illegal immigrant crisis that's going on in Chicago, right? There's some other hidden layers under this, though, like crowded schools, crowded hospitals, emergency services meant for legal citizens of Chicago being diverted to illegal aliens that invaded that area. Crowded communities. One of the points that Danielle made was those city officials from Chicago who are advocating for sanctuary city status that allows illegal aliens to roam the streets and set up and cook and have all types of cooking and barbecues on a corner of a residential neighborhood, selling all types of clothing and flip-flops and t-shirts and stuff like that, is obviously illegal without a license. Because if I did it, I'd be going to jail. those city officials who advocate for all this, none of these illegal aliens are in their neighborhoods. They're not in their gated communities. Okay, because if they were, they would be expedited off the property in seconds. Okay, so another hidden layer in here is that, hey, you know, blacks can take it. Blacks could take it on the chin. They can endure anything. They can persevere through almost every hardship that comes their way. And it's not our responsibility for immigration reform. It's not our responsibility to house these people, okay? It becomes a problem when my kid can't go out and play because we have military-age males living across the street in a shelter, and I don't know anything about them because they haven't been vetted, right? So listen, I'm gonna wrap up. Danielle Carter Walters is a upstanding citizen in her community. I hope she keeps it up. I hope she keeps her name on the national level. If you're one of my subscribers and you follow her, please give her a shout out. Please spread the word that, I want to spread the word among my viewers so y'all can spread the word to whomever you speak to or converse with on social media on a daily basis, to say that, hey, we need to draw the line somewhere. We cannot keep our borders open. We cannot keep our communities open. We cannot keep our homes open to just anybody unvetted. Okay, so we got to draw the line. And good seeing you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.